During the war, a warrior finds a girl and makes her a war machine. The warrior gets missing during the war, and this girl spends all her life trying to find the love of her life. Will she find him? Watch out and take care. Daisy has lost her grandmother. Her family visits her grandmother's house. She complains that her mother is too busy to take care of her grandma, and she says her mother is too busy with work and doesn't care about her grandma's life. She looks at her grandma's property and sees a box of letters. She is told that her great-grandma does send letters to her grandma during her birthday. She gets to know Doll is sending the letters. Back then, people couldn't read and write, so they contacted dolls to write letters for them. Her great-grandma had commissioned a doll to write all the letters for her grandma. During her visit, her mother leaves for work while Daisy decides to stay with her grandma so she won't be lonely. She screams at her mother again but reluctantly apologizes when she leaves. She starts reading her grandma's letter. She sees a news clip and the paper flies over the air, and the story of the doll who sends the letter is told. In particular, doll named Violet is a well-known doll. She has written love letters for the princess and written songs and plays. She is found during the war by a warrior called Gil. Gil named her Violet Evergreen. Years later, she writes the Hymn of the Sea during the Sea Appreciation Festival. She is appreciated by the mayor, but she refuses to be flattered. She meets with a former colleague, Erica, and excuses herself to go home. As she gets home, she types a letter to Gilbert, as she remembers the day he was killed in battle. That day, Gilbert told her to run, and he died. The next day at work, Iris, her colleague, receives a call asking for Violet as a doll. She tells the client Violet is too busy to accept her request. That day, all the company workers complain to their president that a radio station is being built and everyone will soon have a phone. Violet leaves work and visits Gilbert's mother's grave, and Captain Dietfried, Gilbert's brother, meets her there. He admonishes her to forget about Gilbert and live her life. However, she refuses his advice. She walks out and forgets her ribbon. She gets back to work and receives a call. The caller asks for a doll and orders the doll to visit. She complains that it is too late to visit a client, but the caller insists, so she decides to visit. She visits the caller Ureth, who is a little boy who is terminally ill, and he wants to drop a letter to his parents. At first, as Violet gets to his room, he asks her to hide because his parents are visiting. She hides under the bed while he discharges his parents. When she comes out, he tells her he wants a letter that will be given to his parents after his death. He asks her if she could write such a letter. She brags about her skills and replies to him that they have been sending letters each year for about 50 years to a daughter whose mother had commissioned them before her death. He doesn't have much money, so he asks her how much words his money could write. At first, Violet tells him money can only write 20 letters, but she later tells him there is a discount for kids and he can write all his desires. She removes her gloves to write his letters. He sees she is using prosthetics. She explains to him that she lost her hands during the battle a long time ago. While they work together, he says she is fun to be with. As she finishes her duty, she returns to work. Her principal, Hodgins, has just gotten back from the field, and he wants to have a meal with her. Also, Dietfried drops by to give her the ribbon she forgot at the cemetery. He tells her he is disposing of his ship, and the ship has several memories of Gilbert, like his books and toys. He asks her if she will come by to pick up the memories, and she agrees. Hodgins invites her for lunch. During lunch, he asks if he should follow her to the ship, but she refuses. After lunch, Hodgins complains to one of his workers that he doesn't like Dietfried's relationship with Violet because he is the one who made Violet a war tool in the first place. His worker tells him that if Dietfried can make Violet forget Gilbert, then Hodgins should let them be. Later that day, she visits the ship for the properties. Dietfried tells her about his childhood memories with his brother Gilbert. He says he regrets not being close to his brother before he died. She replies that although she can't pretend to understand sibling love, she also knows what it means to wish you did things better. Dietfried apologizes for telling her to forget Gilbert and comments that he finds it difficult to forget him too. After leaving the ship, she goes to the hospital to meet Ureth. She asks him to tell her how he felt when his younger brother Shiloh was born. Ureth narrates that he initially felt happy to have a brother, but he later started feeling like his brother was out to get his parents from him. She notices that Ureth isn't speaking from his heart. She tells him this, and he is shocked as to how she knew. She informs him of her experience in letter writing, and she says that the words can be felt too. She finishes the letter and shows him. She makes a pinky promise to him that the letter will be delivered. However, before she leaves, he asks her if he can write another letter to his best friend, Ryuka. She offers to help him, but she advises him that he should say anything he wants to physically, as he will regret not expressing himself. She recounts how she regrets not expressing herself better to Gilbert. As she tells her story, he asks if Gilbert is dead, but she replies that she believes Gilbert is still alive. Yurith says he finds it difficult to look at Ryuka because he already looks like a shadow, so she agrees to write the letter for him without a fee. She visits the next time to write the letter. Ryuka, who has been sneaking into the hospital to see Yurith, sees her on her way into the room she entered. At work, Hodgins is asked to clear up letters with an incomplete receiver address. As he checks all the letters, he sees one written in Gilbert's handwriting. He takes the letter to Dietrich, who initially thinks he is there for Violet. They have an altercation, but he informs him he is there because of the letter and gives the letter to Dietrich and asks him to research more on it. Hodgins stops by Violet's house and tells her about his discoveries. With Daisy, her mother returns, but she doesn't meet her at home. Daisy's letter says she is visiting Leiden and will be home soon. At Leiden, Daisy visits the postal office, but the office is empty. She goes to the typewriter and wonders where Violet is after she stops working there. An older woman greets her. She tells her she once worked as a receptionist at the postal office, so she could ask her any question. Daisy sees stamps and asks where it is from. The woman tells her the stamps are from Eketel Island. At Eketel Island, the villagers do a memorial for their lost ones. After the memorial, two villagers talk about the fact that the ceremony is meant to appreciate the sea. Still, it is now a memorial for villagers who do not return from war. They talk about the hymn of the sea Violet wrote. Hodgins and Violet travel to the letter's address, Eketel Island, to find Gilbert. She writes a letter on the ship and sends it out. As they get there, Hodgins asks her to stay outside while he goes to check for Gilbert. He is welcomed by three kids who scare him with a one-legged grasshopper. The kids go to scare Violet too, but she isn't scared. She comments that the grasshopper has one leg, and the pupils tell her it is just like their teacher Gilbil, who has just one leg. She immediately knows that Gilbil is Gilbert, and she asks the kids to tell her more about him. Hodgins finds Gilbert, who asks him why they are there. He tells him his name is now Gilbil. He says he was taken to a hospital after the war. He helped out at the hospital, but after a while, he decided not to go back home, and he chose to wander around. Hodgins asks him if he knows Violet was alive. He says yes, but he doesn't want to meet Violet again because he has always caused her pain. He asks Hodgins to leave as he has to help the people of Eketel Island since all their men have gone to war. Outside the hospital, Violet remembers her memories with Gilbert. Hodgins returns and tells her Gilbert doesn't want to see her. She stays in the rain, knocking on his door. She tells him she wouldn't leave unless he sees her, but he refuses to see her. He reminds her of when he took her to war at a young age and made her lose both hands. She also realizes that seeing him will cause pain, so she leaves. They stay at a postal office that night, where she receives a call from the hospital that Yurith is dying and needs the doll. She wants to make her way back to Leiden immediately, but it's raining. Hodgins sends Iris and Benjamin to Yurith in the hospital. They tell Yurith that Violet is in a faraway land to meet the man she loves. Yurith is glad Gilbert was alive after all. He decides to talk to Ryuka himself rather than using a letter. He doesn't wish to see him physically, so they create a wired telephone so he will speak to Ryuka. Yurith apologizes for his refusal to see Ryuka. Ryuka says although he is in pain, his best friend doesn't want to see him, and he comforts himself by visiting the hospital and seeing him from the window. He asks Ryuka to take care of his brother, and he dies. Violet is informed that Yurith couldn't write the letter, but he spoke to Ryuka. Yurith's family read Yurith's letter as they mourned their son. That night, Violet decides not to return to Gilbert. She says she will return to the post office the next day and keep writing her letters as usual. At sunrise, she walks toward a transport machine Gilbert had built for Eketel Island to make transportation of farm harvest easier. The pupils comment that their teacher is very smart. Violet writes a letter and gives it to one of the pupils to give Gilbert. One of the older men left on the island asks Gilbert to go back home. He tells him it wasn't his fault that all their able men died at the battle, but Gilbert refuses to leave the island. His brother comes by. He asks him why he didn't come to their mother's funeral. He tells him Violet had been visiting every month on his behalf. He also gets Violet's letter. As he reads it, he becomes emotional. He remembers all his memories with her and runs to catch up with her ship. He screams her name as she hears his voice. She jumps down from the ship and swims to him. She tells him she loves him and he asks her to live with him forever. Violet returns to Leden, finishes all the jobs she had at the moment, and goes to stay with Gilbert on the island. She takes on the post office on the island. After Daisy hears the story, she goes to the island. She visits the school and goes to the post office. She is told about Violet again. Then she decides to write a letter to her mother and express her feelings. She ended her letter by telling her that her mother loves her. Thank you for watching the recap. Please subscribe to our channel to get notified when we post the next recap. See you next time.